Gundam style, and welcome to That Cool Robot. This is painful. My name is Julia. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Jay, or Jared, and I use he and them pronouns.
And I'm Max. I use he and him pronouns.
I'm in physical pain.
This is the initiation. This is what all of my co-hosts have to go through. It's a kind of sort of soul-wrenching experience, but you come out the other side stronger, or so I've been told.
Certainly hope so. I need some help.
Max, you're the only person not coming out the other side on these, so by the end of this...
Oh, no. Look, every time I record an episode of this podcast... I think it's a sort of like it's like being out in the sun. You know, you can be out for an hour or two, and like, you know, if as long as your exposure is not that long, you're fine. I'm just kind of here always, so at this point, I'm kind of already a charred husk, giving all that I have.
Oh yeah,
you just don't know it yet. You haven't left to like
realize
I'm gonna
what record
has happened.
in like what, like fucking like 7 years or so. I'm gonna record like the final bit of Gundam media, and as soon as I post the final episode, like, I'm just going to turn into dust, and like the camera's going to pan over, and it's just going to be like nothing, because
After all this time, yes.
My work here is done. Changed the world, my final message. I must say, this batch of episodes beat ass completely, in my opinion.
Yes, correct. You're absolutely opinioned correct.
Yeah.
I like that the show is kind of like making it clear who the main antagonist is as of now. I like that. I like the boys all finally met each other, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
all 5
boys
seconds of that
boys.
scene. I like that the stakes are kind of clear now. Like it feels like we've kind of taken off of the runway of the show, and we're starting to like kind of get altitude now.
Yeah, like we actually have everyone together. We're moving the plot forward in a way that's not 17 different threads happening at once. It is just the one, which is cool, and it also makes it easier to follow.
Yeah, and it let me just say now, cancel me all you want, but I think Treize is my favorite character in this show so far.
I am -% surprised that you've told me this fact right now.
I'm inclined to say Treize gang.
Hashtag Treize gang.
To steal a bit, but you know, such is life.
I'm making a 13 with my fingers because it looks really cool.
I'm glad you like
Goodness.
him. I'll say that he's a good character to have around right now. And
yeah, Marge Simpson voice, I just think he's neat.
You're so valid.
I also like his girl boss partner, and I've since learned since recording last week. Even in the dub or the sub, she is pronounced Lady Un. So I will no longer be calling her Lady Une like I thought she was called last week.
Okay, good. We're using the correct name now. That's progress.
Yeah. Believe it or not, the dub continued to get it right. What a woof. Much to consider.
I feel like if anything, it probably would have been translated to Une in English, and I'm surprised that they just kept it the same. Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's also on me a little bit, because since making a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, I'm inherently distrustful of dubs. So.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Well, hey, shall we start talking about these episodes?
Let's get into
Might
it.
as well.
In the interest of Julia not being awake at like, midnight.
Oh, it's fine. I'm
All
baby,
right.
but I'm going to do my best.
Folks, she's baby. New Mobile Report Gundam Wing Episode 7. Scenario for bloodshed. Treize and Un have hatched a plan to spread intel that Oz top brass are congregating at New Edward's base for a meeting. As planned, the Operation Meteor Boys pick up on this false intel, unaware that they are soon to be attacking a peace meeting attended by Alliance commanders. Field Marshal Noventa, a high-ranking Alliance officer, leads the meeting and successfully convinces nearly everyone in the room to aim for peace with the colonies. As if on cue, the Gundams attack the base. Noventa and the other Alliance officials are led to an escape shuttle, while Treize takes General Septim to his personal jet. Upon seeing what he believes to be an Oz shuttle escaping the base, Hero destroys it, essentially assuring Treize's plan of war, which will be Upon seeing what he believes to be an Oz shuttle escaping the base with the Alliance top brass, Hero destroys it, essentially assuring Treize's plan of war will be fulfilled. As all this happens, Zex leads a worldwide offensive to take over every Alliance military base, further securing Treize's power. General Septim then makes a televised address denouncing the colony's actions and further tilting the balance towards war. After his speech, as he is no longer useful to Treize's plans, Lady Un kills him. Hero and the other boys were played like a goddamn fiddle. This episode was really good.
There's a lot to like.
Good.
This is I I will probably mention this again and again, but I've seen Gundam Wing a lot, and this is the first time that I feel like my eyes have been open while watching it, and like I'm actually like paying attention to what's going on, and I now understand what happened in this episode for the first time ever, which is a little embarrassing.
What I think the best part of this episode, outside of the actual plot and like what happens in Treize's trick, I love Treize is cool. Is the fact that this episode has one thing happening. The only other scene that we cut to from like the new Edwards base area is Zex attacking a different Alliance base. That is literally the only cutaway. Everything is happening here. We're not bouncing all over the world. We're not seeing Wu Fei chill in a river in China. Like it's all here. So like it kind of makes it easier to focus on. You know where you are, so it's not like it's concise and it's contained, and I like this show so
I think
far.
that works really well for it, especially because there is kind of a lot going on. There has been a lot going on, and this is the first time we really get to consolidate into one place.
Yeah. So this one starts out, we see a bunch of shuttles are landing at New Edwards base. They're all kind of empty, and we learn that at Treize's request, Lady Un has spread rumors that like top Oz officers are going to be at New Edwards base. But this is all just a big bamboozle because there will be no Oz officers there whatsoever.
Instead, it's going to be all the Alliance top brass, who we will see have a much different plan than the Oz officials would.
We get a bit of narrator intervention in this episode. I think twice in this one alone, because like Treize is talking to Lady Un, kind of expositing what the actual plan is, that actually Alliance officials are showing up, and then the narrator cuts in and is like, this is what's actually happening, in case you didn't get it.
Right, yeah. I've noticed that we're getting a lot more narrator exposition here, which is fine. I don't really get bothered by it because it's not explaining the show.
Right.
It's like...
I
don't know.
Instead of, it's almost like just like making sure you're tracking because the show wants you to be tracking.
Right.
But it doesn't feel like hand holding either.
Yeah.
Like it almost feels kind of like a Star Wars opening crawl in that it's kind of like, I think it helps that the narration is happening as we see the action happening anyway. So it really, it feels like this sort of like scenario, like a scenic shot almost.
Sure.
It's interesting. I don't mind it though, because again, it's not like Dio's just saying, "Here's what's happening in the entire world lore." It's like I don't need that. Go away, Dio.
And
put the helmet back on.
After Treize talks to Lady Un, we get a shot of like Hero with like this data being projected onto his face as he looks at a computer screen, and he's like, "Mission accepted," and it's like, "Oh, they're falling for it." Oh, good.
Yeah, they're super falling for it.
And then we get Katra over in wherever his base happens to be. He's talking to the Magonak Corps, and he's getting kind of chewed out by a lot of the members of it. They like specifically, I think, they're just like really mad that he left and went on his own because they were worried about him. And I think is this.
I think you jumped to like the end of the episode.
Oh, I might have. I apologize.
So,
I'm a little mixed up.
This is a scene with the Magonak Corps. Katra's not here at all. Like
he's out for the mission. This is when they first realize that he's dipped out. Apparently, he had told them that he's simply going off to a resort, and they're like, "Oh, young dude just needs to get away from all these old dudes just chilling and working on us." And
I definitely got ahead of myself. My bad.
Yeah, no worries. Rasid was like, "Hey, idiots! He's off on a mission. He's doing it to protect us."
Yeah, he's both like relieved and a little frustrated because he's like, "Oh, I'm glad that he's worrying for our safety, but I'm also a little bummed that like he's not taking us with him, that he's gone."
Exactly.
Right. As all this happens, we also do get another scene of Zex, who is like in an air fleet right now in Nairobi, because as instructed by Treize and Un, there's going to be a big battle soon, so he's ready to kick some ass. I wonder what he's going to be fighting. Who can possibly guess?
Right. Then
we get a little shot.
Katra's in a phone booth, right?
Yes.
Is that where we are?
He's in a phone booth on like a dock.
Okay. And he's like talking to a hotel, like he's, quote unquote, booking a resort or something along those lines.
A hotel in San Francisco. He specifically says the Starly Hotel in San Fran. Not my Pokemon choice when I'm making a hotel, but Starly's fine anyway.
And we see in the background while he's on the phone and kind of afterwards, there's like a big truck with something on its bed being loaded up. And there's a
Gundam-sized truck, let's say.
Yeah, a perfectly Gundam-sized truck. And then we see a second truck of similar size being loaded up. And then, hey, there's a kid driving it that looks really familiar. He's got weird hair and a turtleneck.
A kid with foot-long bangs. Who could it be?
Yeah.
Oops, it's Troa.
It's Troa. Contra just goes up and is like, hey, want to team up? And Troa's like, no.
It's so
Not really.
funny.
Contra's just so happy to see his boyfriend again, and Troa's like, I'm gonna do this on my own, actually, thanks.
Yeah,
Troa's like, I want to kill.
Troa specifically says, I'm doing this on my own. And then Contra retorts with, so am I, but what if we work together?
What if we were alone together?
It's so cute.
Yeah. No, I love that Fall Out Boy song. We cut over to, there's not New Edward space, but a different airbase. Heroes attacking it, presumably to like steal a transport or just to attack it. Who knows what this fucking boy is up to anymore. He finds Death Scythe there as well. Duo's already taking a mission on there. And he basically convinces Hero to kind of like go along with his plan of attacking. And Hero's like, all right, whatever, Duo. And Duo's like, oh, he remembers my name.
These boys are all so gay. It's wonderful.
I like the show really wants you to believe in. I don't even know what their ship name would be, but the Hero Duo ship is strong and alive, and I love it.
I agree and also disagree, and I'll stop there.
Well, Hero certainly isn't good to end up with fucking Relina. That's clearly one-sided.
No, I know, but the prince and princess whole thing it's a running theme for them. But there is a moment where the two of them are up in the pilot's seat of this carrier plane once their Gundams are loaded on, and Duo is kind of just kicking back, and he's like, I'm excited for this mission to be over, because this is going to be the big one, and then we're done, and then I get to go back to space. And he's like excited to go home, and Hero kind of looks at him like, what are you, a freak? You want to go home?
Yeah.
Hero, like, it's just an odd moment for Hero, because he's like kind of like introspective, and it's almost like, oh, what is he gonna do when this is all over, you know?
Yeah, the main thing is Hero kind of wondering, like, why do you want to go back into space? So clearly, like, there's something up there that Hero doesn't really want to, like, it seems like Hero just wants to finish the mission and fucking die, so who knows what this boy's deal is.
Think about it. What we know of Hero's backstory right now is that he was raised from a small person to be an assassin, and, like, that's probably not a great childhood and doesn't leave a lot of things like, he's interested in returning to.
Yeah.
You also say that he was raised from a small person. He's still a small person, Julia. Let's be clear.
You're not wrong. This boy is small.
Then
he's still a baby.
We get another shot of Zex, maybe? It's Zex talking about, like, the big fight to come as he and his fleet are, like, flying over Nairobi. And one of the things...
It's made clear, like, Nairobi doesn't know that they're there, or, like, why they're there.
Yeah. And... I wrote down what Zex says. He says, the Alliance and Oz, it's not like the world will change if one replaces the other, so why should we even fight?
Yes, I wrote that line down too, because it's something we see in the third episode. It's like a direct callback to that.
Yeah.
Where it very much is like, it's almost as if you wield military power, it doesn't matter who's the one wielding it, because you're still wielding fucking military power. What could it mean?
Yeah, and then I think we get our first interior shot of the actual Alliance conference.
You like fucking numbers?
I love numbers.
We have every numbers here. All the numbers. We have 90. We have 7. We have 20. We have all of them. What more could you want?
Gundams.
God. Field Marshal Noventa, who is... I don't know if the Alliance has a leader, but, like, I'm pretty sure this guy's, like, the highest...
He seems to be him.
He is the Field Marshal. I believe he is, like, probably one of... If not the highest, one of the highest-ranking members of the Alliance.
Yeah. I think there is a Brigadier General that is above him. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Noventa is essentially the one in charge. Because the narrator... This is the point where the narrator cuts in, and... He kind of, like, alludes to 3 specific people. There's one who is in charge of the ground forces on the Earth. There's one who's in charge of the space forces, and another who is in charge of, like, the colony, specifically, forces that are, like, out and about there. Noventa is the one who kind of matters the most, and I think the one who's in charge of the colony forces might be Septum. I know Septum is alluded to it, like a specific mention of Septum.
Who let this fucking guy in charge of anything?
They really fucked up on that one.
He's got a very commanding presence and a powerful voice.
He has a voice, I'll give you that. And Venti, I didn't write down Venti's rank. He's 20. He's a guy.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're all alliance leaders. And this is when we really see, there are not Oz people here. This is an alliance meeting for the purpose of discussing, hey, maybe peace might be good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like their presentation is like entirely a platform of unilateral demilitarization.
Mm-hmm.
They are saying that we're too big and powerful. We're agreeing to pull back and say, like, there's a reason the colony is pushing back is because what we're doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as this is happening, Treize leans over to wow, why did I write knowing? Treize leans over to Un and is like, we need an actor. We need someone who can bring up how the Alliance really feels.
And conveniently...
Yeah, he says this while he's staring directly at fucking Septum's head.
Yeah, and then as Field Marshal Noventa is talking about, like, fully just like demilitarization because it all costs too damn much, Septum speaks up and he's like, well, how are we supposed to respond to this violent retaliation from the colonies if we're just gonna like lay our arms down? Like, what's the point of that? Mm-hmm. And that like Treize is like, I think I've found our star actor.
Yeah, like he's specifically asking about the Gundams too.
Yeah.
And they actually turn to Treize here at this point and are like, what do you think since you've actually fought the Gundams with the specials? Mm-hmm. And he's obviously more on the militarization side of the house, where he's like, they are solely created for destructive purposes. They can't be here.
Yeah.
And after all this, Noventa looks directly into the camera and says, what, you think someone would do that? Use their destructive military force to attack a peaceful organization? And then the ground fucking shakes, and Treize is like, it looks like the final actors have arrived. And then Wings of the Boy Who Killed Adolescent starts playing, and war crimes, let's go.
Yeah, Hero immediately shows up and gets shot down by Leos using Dober guns, the choice weapon of the Tallgeese. Hero and Duo end up tag teaming this base too. They absolutely just start shredding through stuff, and I think a lot of this sequence is actually pretty new animation for the most part. There are parts of this animation that do get used in the next couple episodes, but there's a lot of new stuff on the table here, which is really nice.
My favorite bit of canned animation I've seen so far, it might not have been this episode, it might appear in the next episode, but the Wing Gundam just like eating shit and just completely like face planting into the ground.
It happens in this one because it gets shot down in bird mode, starts to transform, but it crashes in bird mode. There's a moment in the next episode where it crashes just face fucking first, where it's like fully transformed.
It seems like the animator's favorite thing to draw is Wing Gundam just completely eating shit.
We warned you about Stairs, Wing Gundam.
I warned you about gravity. The entire room is like shocked and appalled at this violence. Mm-hmm. And Treize is just trying not to like crack a smile. You can tell he fucking loves this.
I mean, this is exactly what he's expecting. And actually uses that distraction and this attack happening to send orders back up to Zex and all of the Oz personnel in Nairobi to initiate Operation Daybreak.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And then Marshal Noventa and the rest of the crew start to evacuate. They're like, we need to seek shelter and we need to get out of here because we're under attack. And Treize walks up to the front of the assembly and like being very humble, very suave. He's just like, you can use my shuttle that I flew, like my Oz shuttle that I flew in.
You can Field Marshal Noventa, you can use my Oz branded shuttle.
Yeah,
to leave.
He's just being a nice guy. He's just offering a ride to someone who needs to get the hell out of there.
What a kind, selfless gesture.
And Noventa is just like, thank you. Like, you obviously have like nice stuff, and the fact that you're trying to open up and willing to share that with us in this effort to escape is, on good terms. Noventa leads the way, and pretty much the rest of the delegation just follows behind him, and they all are essentially all cramming onto this Oz shuttle. And last of the pack is Septum. And Treize stops him in his fucking tracks.
He's like, hey, can I speak with you privately, please?
Yeah.
And he basically is like, all right, you're going to come on my personal shuttle. Let's fucking go.
Septum's like, what? I thought they were getting on the shuttle that way. And Treize is like, no, don't worry. I want to talk to you in private on my private plane that's on the other direction.
You know what Treize's voice, or what Septum's voice is? The fucking annoying kid from Polar Express.
Oh my god, it is.
It is.
Fucking Mandark.
See, I gotta know what it is for you in the sub, though. Like, it's not that bad,
He's just
right?
a normal guy.
He's just a dude.
What I've been doing is watching it first on my Blu-rays on the dub, and then I will have it playing the sub while I write my notes on my computer. So I'm getting both of it now, which is
kind of a
interesting.
double dip.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
It's interesting.
I just listened to the episode of Pot of Greed, actually, where you guys suggested editing all of Yu-Gi-Oh! To keep just the best parts of the sub and dub. So, very similar vibes.
Yeah, and it would be 99% sub, which is what I probably said during the episode.
You weren't on it.
Yep.
Riley was filling in
that's
for
probably
you.
That's what I would have said if I was.
Yeah. But after all these people shuffle onto the Oz ship, we cut back to Zex. And we hear news that basically bases across the globe are revolting against the Alliance. Revolting suits, in this case, signal to each other by flashing their the Leo's face camera and the Ares face camera, a bright red color, which is pretty cool. And there's a coup going on just in the middle of all of this.
Yeah, then they explain it really interestingly too, where they've had Oz soldiers kind of hanging out and living within the specials and at each of these bases.
Yeah.
So that when they triggered this coup, it's coming from everywhere at the exact same time, and they have people set up to take everything out.
Yeah. And then we get a raw-ass line from Noin as, like...
Oh my god, she looks directly into the fucking camera as she says this, huh?
All of these suits are getting just annihilated in the background, and Noin just says, isn't this a bit bloody for laying the foundation? And it's like, yeah, it sure is.
You are not
yes, it
incorrect.
is.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god. And like as this happens, Zex gives a speech about how Oz is the leader of this new alliance.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the alliance anymore, baby.
And then he pats himself on the fucking back.
He loves his
pretty
shit.
good if I say so myself.
Which is really fun compared to like in 2 episodes. He's like, oh shit, oh fuck.
I
shouldn't have
done it.
I shouldn't have done it. Duo and Hero are continuing to fight. It's just them two at first. But then Heavy Arms appears, fires a volley and missiles at Duo and Hero. Sandrock show up as well, and like they're kind of standing off 2-on-2. And Katra notices like, hey, I think these might also be Gundams, maybe? Who can say? Before they can do anything, the shuttle takes off that the Noventa and the other guys are in. Hero looks up, sees Oz, does Shaq Eyes real shit, and Bird Modes flies up there. And this is so fucking funny, because right before he cuts it in half hamburger style, Noventa's last words are, don't be rash, young man, as Hero proceeds to be rash.
It's so good.
He cuts it, and he's like so fucking pleased. He's like, mission accomplished.
Yeah. He doesn't laugh like an insane person this time around.
He doesn't, no.
I think he's got too much going on to like take the time, which is sad, because like that's his comfort sound.
Yeah, this would be the best time for him to do a Joker laugh, I think. After essentially plunging the Earth and the colonies into war.
Are you telling me you're not supposed to kill the pacifists? I'm not sure.
Who could possibly say? I think war is bad.
We jump back down to like the ground, where the 4 boys that are there kind of come closer together. Duo and Troa kind of trade blows for a bit until Wu-Fei shows up and dragon flamethrowers them in the face for a second and tells them that, hey team, we fucked up.
They played us like a goddamn fiddle.
This is the thing that really gets me
real bad.
Somehow Wu-Fei is the one who cracked the code about what was happening with this being an actual alliance meeting. And he relays that, and Hero's like, oh, I fucked up. But immediately after saying it, Katra, like, confirms what Wu-Fei is saying. And it's like, Katra, you're the smart one, dude. How'd you let that slip by?
How did you miss this one?
He was too busy staring at Troa's bangs.
That's fair.
Poor buddy.
After all this, Septim goes on live television.
Yeah.
He gives his speech while he's on Treize's jet, talking about how the colonies are invading. Like we need to answer this retaliation. Relina is in her mansion and she sees the news and she sees like the photo of Wing Gundam flying away from the exploding plane and like is completely stunned. She like knocks like the vase or something like off the balcony that she's standing on. And then we get the greatest scene in this show so far. So someone want to take what happens to my boy Septim?
I got this. I'm sorry. Relina hears all this on the TV, and then we cut to the interior of Treize's private shuttle, where Lady Un was the one like directing Septim on what to say and had the camera on him and everything. And she kind of congratulates him on his performance, much like Zex did to himself after his speech earlier in Nairobi. And once she is done talking to him, she does the most James Bond villain-ass shit. Julia, take it away.
Sure. She, launches him out of the cargo bay in the back of the ship and says a really cool line. There's, there can't be any bloodshed in Treize's shadow or whatever, or his footsteps. And then just domes this dude from 600 feet up as he falls.
Yeah.
With a pistol.
Absolute girl boss.
She can shoot.
Yeah,
this is sick.
This is one of my favorite moments. Septim's whatever. I don't really care about him, bit aside, obviously. But this is one of the most evil things I have seen happen. It's cartoonishly evil.
Yeah, it's so far out, even from the people that are the antagonists.
Right, yeah.
That we've actually seen so far.
I really like that Un is the one who did this. Treize isn't even in this scene.
Yeah.
He's just probably sitting down enjoying a nice Chianti. Un's the one who's getting her hands dirty here.
But Treize, the thing is Treize is on that shuttle.
Yeah, he's just in the front chilling.
Yeah.
This is not his deal. Un is just cleaning up the loose end.
Yeah.
And I really like...
The specific line that Julia alluded to, I did actually write it down, is...
Okay.
Well, now, we can't have any blood stains in Treize's wake, now can we?
There we go.
It's really, really good.
It isn't enough for her to launch him and, have him die by hitting the ground. No, she has to, make sure he's dead by headshotting him from,
no loose ends.
Several hundred feet away.
No loose ends, yeah.
No loose ends. And that's, the end episode ends, cutting back to the base and, Wu Fei tells him, Treize Kushnada planned all this. And the most interesting thing for me here is that Hiro actually regrets it. Hiro isn't, he's mad at himself for falling for it. And, I didn't really expect to ever really see him show remorse or grief or anything. So the fact that he's, it's he's not even mad that he personally got played. It's he's mad that, the situation, he's mad that he's the one who basically started the war here now.
Yeah, I can't remember
if he realizes how badly he's fucked up.
I can't remember if it's in this or if it's at the beginning of last episode or the next episode rather. But someone details that Hiro is the one who eliminated all of the people who were planning on disarmament.
Yeah,
and it hits him like a fucking freight train.
Yeah, because clearly all he wants is for the fighting to end, and the methods by which he does that for himself personally might be a little questionable, but clearly you can tell that he doesn't want to be fighting forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's not fucking. I mean, I guess Duo also doesn't want to be fighting forever, but at least Duo's enjoys the fighting. Hero enjoys more so making a cool explosion, but regardless, that's episode 1 or episode 8 or fucking 7.
Got
numbers.
There in the end.
There's too many numbers in this show. I can't even.
Yeah, but then we can move on to episode 8, which is up next.
Yes.
Which I think, Julia, you've got this one?
Correct. Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, episode 8. The Treize Assassination.
Good episode
Troa
title.
And Wu Fei go after Treize. Hiro, Duo, and Katra attempt to stop Un from detonating the missiles below the New Edwards base in order to destroy the currently gathered Gundam. Wu Fei and Treize sword fight in a battle for honor, with Treize deciding to spare his life and letting him escape at the end.
Oh, it's good. It continues to be good.
Yeah, this episode is definitely a part 2, which...
Yes, absolutely.
I like that we don't just kind of jump away immediately. I like that this is a continuation for sure. The emotions in the scene feel like it needs more, so I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, the Gundams are still fighting at New Edwards because like even though everyone who wanted peace is dead, like there's still a bunch of mobile suits here. They're fighting. We see more Tragos, which are nice. My wonderful like floating Leo tank friends. Wu Fei wants to go after Treize immediately, and he and Troa end up each taking a cargo plane to like chase after him. And we get a really stupid scene where, as they get there, Troa's like, "Oh, Lady Un has rigged the tanker with explosives," and Wu Fei's like, "I don't care," and just like walks like just trundles through the hangar as it's exploding, tripping every like laser tripwire he can because it doesn't matter. He's a Gundam boy. He's still gonna be able to steal a cargo plane, steal 2 cargo planes, even one for him, one for Troa. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
My thing is like, you just collapsed the hangar. How did you not destroy the planes y'all just flew out on?
Presumably Troa was just shooting so good with heavy arms it just disintegrated the metal falling onto the plane. No problemo.
You're so goddamn right.
Let's see. Katra does not want to pursue, though.
Yeah, because Duo says he wants to chase also. And Katra, using his big brain again now that he's realized he can't have Wu Fei do all the thinking, says that all of their attacks to this point have been surprise attacks. And this would be anything but. They know they're coming, and a bunch more resistance than they already expected.
And
just
then
in this one, let alone
moment.
anything else they do.
There's a little moment where Duo fires his Vulcans on the side, on the head of his Gundam, and he's out of ammo.
Kind of like
and
in frustration.
He's like, "You're right. Like we should take stock and kind of recuperate."
Hero's just kind of in his head about all this, and like there's a bunch of Leos that show up, just start firing at them, and Hero is just taking every single bullet. He just like is like dissociated at this point. Like,
but he's not doing great.
Yeah, Katra and Duo jump out of the way, and they're like, "Hero, you good?" And he's just like staring like fucking Shinji at the beginning of Eva 4, like just completely zoned. We cut to Treize has landed in a different base, and it landed somewhere, I guess.
They land on their warships.
Yo, that's right. He tells Lady Un that she's in charge of the Gundams at New Edwards. She has lipstick on now. I don't know. I guess this is just like the episode probably had a different head animator, but I like to imagine that after she domed Septim, she's like, and now time to apply.
It's important
some lipstick to look like even more of a girl boss.
No, it was intentional.
It was intentional.
It was intentional. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Is this like? Oh God, great, wonderful. Can't. This show has so many secrets,
and I know all of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, the burden of knowledge.
Show's good.
And her big plan to get rid of all the Gundams at the base in a clean way, let's just blow up all the fucking missiles we have at the base. That'll probably do it.
Yeah, it's what I would probably call exceedingly overkill and absurdly high collateral damage.
Yeah, what, Julia? No, what? You mean that setting off enough missiles to cover a 300-kilometer radius in the sort of middle crook of Africa is overkill?
No, it's fine. We're
Gundams,
fine.
Though. The detonation range for those things is scary big. Like,
it makes me think it's like they never say the nuke word, but it makes me think they're like our nukes, and like that's the range of like the immediate fallout, because 300 kilometers.
That's a lot.
I don't think you can make a bomb that big without having it be like nuclear fission based. I'm not an expert. I don't want to know about nukes like that, but like I'm pretty sure that's not conventional weaponry. Then again, this is Gundam World, so who knows? They're probably made of Gundariums. And then we cut to our good friend Sally Poe.
Sally.
In a plane. As she's flying around, she gets the news that New Edwards Base is going to detonate its missiles. And she makes the plane land at like I guess it's like some sort of command post nearby the base, where it's like the soldiers there are actually the ones who are arming the missiles. It doesn't really explain unless I zoned out. It's a separate
base, but close.
It doesn't really ever say who they are or where Sally Poe landed.
It's currently staffed by Oz soldiers.
Right, because Sally Poe was talking about like incoming transport ships that were coming from New Edwards, and then somehow she's also in a ship that needs to make a landing so they can physically get to this base to shut off these explosions. It's kind of just, they expect you to kind of gloss over it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's something that didn't really need to be dwelled on. It's like they clearly know what to focus on these episodes, so I'll give them a pass for this. She lands, she infiltrates with her crew. They all have guns pointed at these Oz soldiers. They're arming missiles, and she tells them, don't do that. Like, you're going to kill a bunch of people. And they're like, okay. And they just press the button to arm them anyway, even though they have guns pointed at them. Very sad.
They don't kill them either in response. They kind of they tie them up and they try to figure out what's going on, which I think is like kind of nice for Sally to do.
Yeah, like clearly she doesn't want to kill people, and the fact that she immediately radios Hiro saying, hey,
that was, I think, the coolest thing so far in the show is like she has such a reverence for Hiro.
I mean, it's in his name.
Dude's a hero. Where her immediate thought is, I need Hiro. He's the only one that's going to be able to stop this.
Yeah. I need a hero.
She knew because she kind of figured out that he was one of the Gundam pilots, that he was like the only person that could do this. And so she like takes over the comm system at the New Edward base and is like, Hiro, if you're there, you need to get up and disarm these missiles. And while she's saying that, Katra's right there fact-checking, being reliable, being the smart one. And he radios to Hiro and to Duo, and he's like, what she's saying is true. There are missiles here that they're planning to detonate, and this is like where they are, where you would need to go. And that's when Hiro like finally kind of kicks back into action.
Go time! There was a really cool line that Sally said, kind of going off what you said, Julia, about her having this reverence for Hiro. She says, even if you blow up the base, like, you're not going to be able to kill Hiro. Like,
no.
That boy is indestructible, which is cool. Because, again, she did see him jump out of 50th floor and live. And once again, we see Hiro, master of free diving, because he gets in bird mode. He flies up. They think he's retreating at first, but in reality, he's flying up high enough to, like, do aerial reconnaissance and, like, use some sort of imagery to locate the missiles. He dives down. We get a pretty cool shot of like the Gundam using the beam saber to like Star Wars Episode 1 style cut open the hatch of the missile silo and like using its leg to like kick it open and like pry it. It's a cool like kind of like gritty animation moment.
I like the composition on the shot a lot because we get the Gundam as part of like the background with the beam saber like slashing into the roofing of this exterior as like the foreground. It just looks cool.
And yeah, like he free dives out of the Gundam, and then I was like, Hiro, no, Hiro, you can't do that,
time, guys.
He instead has a grappling gun that he shoots at like a beam and like swings down and is able to land completely fine. He gets a fucking call on his codec, and it's Katra telling him to go to missile model 304. You got to disarm that one, because that's the main one. The explosion will trigger all the other warheads.
Yeah, Katra's just feeding him really detailed information. He's got the schematics, he's got the blueprints and everything pulled up.
Hiro, like, sprints over to the command room for that specific missile. He's digging around. He ends up under the floor, and pulls some wires to turn off the explosion on the last possible few seconds.
There's like a second point some milliseconds left
like
on the clock.
Down from 2 to 1 as it slows to a halt.
Yeah, and like all of Sally's men are freaking out, and Sally's like, "Nah, we're fine."
There's
sure enough.
Two things that I really like about this is Duo is like, this is going to be a close call. And Katra already believes in Hiro. He's like, there's a 10% chance he can do this, but I have faith in him.
Never tell me the odds.
It's really good. And they don't cut away from this sequence, I don't think, the entire time. Like once Sally Poe gets Hiro into action, it is zoned in on this like very kind of not super long, obviously, but it's a longer sequence where it's focused on this one action set piece.
Yeah, for this show, it's definitely a longer sequence than average, for sure.
I think the show is finally learning to focus more and not cut. And we will get more scenes where it's cut. But in this point, it's like, okay, we know what you're trying to pay attention to. So it's nice.
So while Hiro is attempting to stop the whole base from exploding, Duo and Katra are setting up transport ships because their Gundams are out of fuel at this point, or just about, and they need to get off and head off to the next part of the mission.
And Katra's like, Duo has secured 2 carriers, and Katra's like, you should get a third one. I'm sure that other guy is probably low on fuel too. And Duo's like, Yeah, I guess.
You really believe he's gonna do this?
Right.
Sure enough. And like they just all immediately fly up afterwards. We get a little scene of Hiro once again showing remorse and guilt over screwing everything up, which is like he's still feeling like, I don't know. There's something very like meaningful about him. This happens over 2 episodes that he's like, shit, beans, I fucked up.
It's the
This is my
first time
fault,
we've seen him be emotional in any way about anything at all.
Yeah, it's the first
don't tell Relina.
Emotion, and it's remorse too.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
And then like a comedy cut, we get Lady Un reporting her failure to Treize.
And he is like, whatever.
Yeah, it's
totally
weird
fine
because
with it.
he just kind of shrugs it off, and Lady Un's just caught so off guard. And the reason he's like kind of like, oh, well, whatever, is because if those explosions had been detonated, that would have reflected poorly on the image of Oz. And he's like, Lady Un, you should learn more about the Oz organization and what our goals are and why we're doing what we're doing. And she's caught so off guard. She's like, did I fuck up worse than I thought I did? By not letting that, it's super bizarre.
It's
weird.
It's cool. Treize says some really interesting things where saying basically that they were saved by the Gundams turning off the explosions.
Their reputation and image was saved by the Gundam pilots stopping the detonation of these missiles.
Absolutely, because the explosion would have polluted the Earth, and that's a finite thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he says this really, really cool line: anyone is capable of killing anybody, but you cannot abuse that. And it's an interesting look in at Oz too, and Treize specifically.
Yeah.
This harkens back to one of the absolute like main core Gundam tenets of the Earth is sacred.
Yeah.
That we see in, and a lot of this manifests as like eco-fascism. And I don't think Treize is quite there yet, but and the fact that he says polluting the Earth specifically makes me think that they were nukes, even though the show never said it.
Right.
I think so.
But it's
That
also
makes
a
the
big
most
enough
sense.
explosion that it could cause like massive
Oh yeah,
harm,
I mean
think,
it'll
on
be
its
bad
own.
regardless.
Right.
But
it's bad
I
all
like
around.
that. Yeah, and like looking back at G Gundam, it took that show until like the last, I think, like 10 episodes to say, hey, I think we need to protect the Earth.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad that in this one early on, we clearly show that while Treize may be this despicable evil man, he still is like wants to do things in a quote unquote clean way so that we don't fuck up our cool rock that we all live on.
Is this it like fades to black and cuts to commercial break, but is this where we get the moment of Treize like eyeing an emblem on the wall when he's talking about Oz?
I think this happened earlier. I think this might have even happened in the first episode. But yeah, he looked at like a very poorly drawn, I might add, lion emblem.
That's I just wanted to focus on for a second that the organization is called Oz, Organization of the Zodiac, but also Oz, and their emblem is a lion, and their main suit is a Leo. But there's kind of a like yellow brick road sort of. If you follow the yellow brick road, you can see the comparisons or through lines from Wizard of Oz specifically. Like that's another in joke baked into Gundam Wing, which I think is kind of funny.
So we're gonna get a scarecrow.
Well, there is sort of a straw man when you think about it conceptually speaking, and there are giant robots which could be considered tin men.
Okay,
I've been thinking about this one all day. But no, there's
Dorothy's
a lot of,
gonna
like,
show up. She's gonna have a little funny dog
God.
named Toto, Ruby Slippers.
Max.
Okay, all right.
There is a character named Dorothy that does show up.
Oh fuck yeah, let's go! Hell yeah!
Like, I know you were joking, but I do have to actually let you know on that one.
That you were correct.
Stop the clock. Let's go. Hell yeah!
I don't want to say anything, but a lot of people are excited for Dorothy to show up. But yeah, so we get the commercial break then. I just kind of wanted to talk about the Wizard of Oz kind of symbolism, which it's nothing more than like nods to Wizard of Oz as a whole.
We come back from commercial and we do get Noin on a motorcycle, and she is super fucking cool. I love her so much.
Yeah.
Dirt bike knowing. Love her.
She is commending Brigadier General Diago Ogel for not surrendering. We cut immediately And
well, hold on. She does say some really weird things about this guy. She's like,
sure.
She's like, he's a tenacious man, but I hope he's hateful enough so Zex can feel resolute in dealing with him.
Do his shit that he needs to do.
I hope this guy's just a real bigoted piece of shit so Zex can kill him without feeling bad about it.
Here's another deeper look into things. His name is Iago, which, if you know anything about Othello, I believe Iago is like a traitor in that.
Oh, he's Daigo for us in the sub.
Oh, maybe I was wrong.
He's Daigo Onigel for me.
Okay. But one of the things that Noin says is that specifically she's attacking the Brigadier General at the Alliance headquarters. Mm-hmm. Like, they are at the headquarters of the whole Alliance. And then we get a shot inside of the building as Brigadier General is looking outside being like, I'm defensible. I can hold off an army for days, or whatever he's saying. And then just out from like the nearest hallway, Zex walks in.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you sure are, buddy. Look at my cool gun.
Yeah, he's got a very fancy gun, and he's like, you would think that, or I thought you'd maybe recognize me because I believe you were like, you know, in the barracks while I was training, and maybe, you know, I would be able to get close, but your guard was always a little too high for my liking. And then we get some like Sank Kingdom lore, because this Brigadier really General was the guy who was in charge of the attack on the Sank Kingdom. The the place that was committed to total pacifism and got completely wiped out, essentially.
The general starts by saying that it was the military's fault. It wasn't his idea for these atrocities, and destroying the Sank Kingdom wasn't his plan. Zex immediately counters that by saying the Sank Kingdom would have never counterattacked, and that you yourself said you could eliminate the revolts completely by destroying the royal family and personally led the attack.
Yeah. According to this Facebook post you made, you said that it was really cool that you destroyed the Sank Kingdom.
And I will be shooting you now.
And as Zex levels a gun, the Brigadier General calls out a name with a last name specifically that we have heard before, but a first name we have not, and that would be Miliardo Peacecraft.
I'm rubbing my fucking temples. This is the biggest... Hey, look, this is the biggest number we've heard so far.
It is the biggest number we've heard.
This motherfucker's named Ballin Peacecraft. What's the deal?
It's pretty fucking good.
What's the deal? Why?
Why not?
Why?
The only way to be better than Char was to be more than 3 times better than him. So he's a billion times better than
we
Char.
already got a fucking 3 times joke in the next episode.
I know.
We do. It's very good.
This motherfucker's really looked in the camera at me specifically and said in my voice, Maxi Bajillion Peacecraft. Come on.
I've been waiting to make that joke
one day
for like a year and a half.
This is the fucking Prestige, and I'm just one of the Hugh Jackmans that gets killed.
It's so fucking good, Max. You gotta love it.
I like Wings so far. Regrettably,
you do look at it and smile and clap. So
I do like it. Even and it's like this is the least WoW Cool Robot show because we're really not getting that many robots. I mean, we get next episode we got a lot to talk about there, but like
we do.
It's like there's something troubling happening where I'm not getting new robots thrown at me every episode, and I'm still having a fucking blast. What could it mean?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, Lady Un is like still kind of in her feelings. She's like, I don't know if I really understand Treize. I don't really know if I understand what he's about. They get a radio from a plane to land, and Un realizes too late. She does Admiral Akbar voice as a trap, as the Gundam boys use these cargo planes as kamikazes to just ram into these aircraft carriers.
It is buck wild what happens here. Yeah.
You want to take it?
Julia?
Oh, sure. Are you eating pizza again?
Yeah.
Okay. So the carriers signal down to the warship for communication, and they let them the head of the captain of the ship kind of like waves them on.
Specifically because they're from the New Edwards base.
They're New Edwards base.
They're probably just escaping
from.
Like soldiers and whatnot.
And Lady Yon's like, wait, where are they from? And just screams that these are actually enemies.
She puts it together just
Idiots.
a second too late too, because she was lost in thought thinking about like what she did.
She would have figured it out too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are fucking under attack.
So this is where it gets kind of unclear what happened, because one of the planes gets kind of shot down, and I think it crashes into the water, doesn't it?
So yeah, you can take it, Julia.
Okay, sure. One, they specifically had plane bombed basically one of the boats.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was shot down as it was trying to get to the main ship of the cargo, or like the grouping. They shot that down where it still landed on the boat.
But it didn't like collide with the control tower.
No,
Right,
so that's
okay.
why Troa and Heavy Arms kind of climb out of the wreckage and the fire on the ship proper already.
I did want to note there's a cut to Troa. He seems to be in the second one to go down, and he has this moment where he's like, "Oh, I need to get in my Gundam to survive this crash."
Yeah.
And he
It's
does.
like, buddy, you weren't already there?
He does. He goes from the cockpit of the plane into his Gundam and rises from the fucking ashes and immediately starts taking out Leos that are being put onto the surface of this aircraft carrier. And it's like maybe 5 seconds, and we get a shot back to Lady Un and the bridge of the ship, and someone's reporting back, it's already destroyed 20 Leos. Like, oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, Troa is spawn camping at this point, so it's like, it's 20, but there's an asterisk there.
Right, but also, how does he have any bullets left after the New Edwards incident?
He has a knife, he's just stabbing them as soon as they get out of the elevator.
That's fair.
If it's working, it's working.
Yeah, exactly. Lady Un orders them to throw it into the sea and have the cancers take care of it. So they put a Leo on the sort of like... You've seen this in like every Gundam series where it's like essentially a catapult. It's like 2 slots for the mobile suit's feet and it like jettisons you forward.
Yeah, it's
and
like
it's just
like a real aircraft carrier has for planes.
Yeah.
For planes, yeah. But this is for just like big boys because the Leo gets launched and like grabs I love it. It just straight up tackles Heavy Arms into the ocean.
It is another moment of very physical, like mobile suit on mobile suit violence that we don't get very often. And it's very comical because this thing is the Leo that gets on this catapult is very squat. It's in this position to get launched and to remain stable in the process of that. But it looks like it's just like curling up into a ball and gesturing vaguely to the bridge like, throw me.
Yeah. It's like when the weaponry is all beam-based, projectile-based, the funniest thing you can do is like use your body as a weapon.
Yeah. And so Heavy Arms gets knocked into the water and we get this shot of it starting to sink and there are like 50 cancer units in the water just surrounding it.
Heavy Arms falls into like the Twitter crab rave gif.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Heavy Arms falls into the fucking Fat of the Land special edition album cover.
God.
And then Lady Un herself gets in a Leo. This is a mobility type Leo, I believe.
It is a Leo that has been fitted with an aerial mobility unit. Yes.
Yeah. It's like a Leo that's pretending to be an Ares.
This is where we start to see like the custom parts of Leos. I think there's another one we see later on that's a commander type unit. I'll talk about it when we get to it. But Lady Un basically decides to suit up because Shenlong Gundam is like destroying a separate carrier, and she's like, I want to handle that one.
Yeah, it's heading towards Treize's ship, and she's like, uh-oh, I gotta stop this.
Also, Treize's ship is like the head of a fleet, but it's a fucking cruise ship.
It's just a yacht.
It's a mega yacht, exactly. Yeah. It has a pool on it.
God, and
that's Treize, baby.
That's Treize.
As Wu Fei approaches Treize's ship, he talks to his Gundam. He affectionately calls it an Otaku, and then he gets tackled out of the sky into the bridge of another ship.
In a row.
Yeah, by Lady Un in a Leo. And Lady Un's not here to talk. She immediately drops the flight unit, pulls out a beam saber, and starts fucking swinging.
And then Wu Fei, like, he's like knocked, not unconscious, but he's like dazed, and he gets up and he's like, he sees her doing this, he's like, okay, and just like breaks one of her arms off.
Yeah, he just rips it off.
And then somehow Un, strategic commander of Oz and the Specials, or someone high up, is like, oh, I didn't realize the Gundams were this powerful.
Yeah,
it's like, girl,
right? Missed the boat.
Literally every military report from the last like couple weeks has been these Gundams are way more powerful than anyone could have imagined.
It's one of those you see it and you believe it moments.
Yeah. So then, as this is happening, as they're tussling, Treize takes matters into his own hands by tooting his yacht's horn.
He and turned his boat around because at this point it had gotten away and came back.
Yeah.
Yes. I think he just like drops anchor and then they catch up to him or something like that. And Wu Fei understands this as a challenge because we see Treize holding a saber like in his sort of room there.
Yeah, so there's a lot that happens really quickly. Is the foghorn goes off, Lady Un stands down, and immediately Wu Fei backs off. And then he's like, oh, that's the ship that I need to go for. Gets over there, looks Treize in the eyes like from his Gundam, sees that Treize is holding a saber, and he's just like, oh, he wants to fight one-on-one. So he takes his dragon arm and, like a reasonable person, smashes through into the room that Treize is standing
10 feet away from Treize, who does not flinch whatsoever.
It's also, the animation on that is really clean, and I like to see it. And he gets out of his Gundam cockpit, jumps up onto the arm, and runs down it like a rope bridge. Yes. It's so cool, and it happens in like 5 seconds.
It's so quick.
But he pulls. He has a sword in his. Wu Fei has a sword in his cockpit, and he just takes it with him.
Wu Fei has a sword. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like of all the boys who would have a sword in their cock. Oh, actually, you know what? I think it would be all of them, but Katra. Actually, never mind.
Yeah, he keeps his swords on his Gundam like a regular person.
He keeps that MF thing on him, but he's using. It looks more like a pirate cutlass almost.
It does.
But regardless, he runs in and starts to duel with Treize, and like as you'd expect, Treize is this tactical master who like is barely moving, just deflecting all of Wu Fei's attacks.
He's also not
and
a
ends
child, so
yeah, he's also an adult man.
Yeah, there's a moment where Wu Fei like slashes at him, misses, and kind of like goes flying and like jumps off a wall at Treize and does this very big obvious slash that Treize sidesteps, and then at the end of that sidestep, his Treize's sword is leveled at Wu Fei's throat.
It's like a slow-mo of the sword like whipping right to Wu Fei's neck.
It's super good.
He ends the fight. He pulls it back like wordlessly.
Yeah.
And Wu Fei is like, if you let me live, I'm gonna come back to get you. And Treize is like, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Treize, I think Treize's specific line is, "That sounds interesting, bro."
Yeah. And Wu Fei's pissed. He like jams his cutlass into the ground and like runs off.
Yeah.
And
then he just
first
jumps shit and sinks down too.
Yeah, Treize is lucky that he challenged Wu Fei, because I think any of the other boys would have just like killed him.
Would have just killed him immediately from their Gundams.
If it had been Troa, Duo, or Hero specifically, they would have pulled a gun that they had stashed somewhere and just been like, no,
the series would have ended
at
episode 8.
Yeah.
And Un was there, walks into the room afterwards and is like, why are you letting him go?
Yeah.
And Treize says this cool thing where he's like, I want to battle him again on his turf, basically.
Yes.
He was honorable and came to duel me. Let's see what happens next time.
And then we get Heavy Arms underwater, just obviously fending off all the cancers with, it seems like, only his wrist-mounted knife. And
yeah, this is how we know that Duo Maxwell is from the Neo Maryland Space Colony, because he went crabbing.
Right.
Or not Duo, Troa.
Troa, yeah.
Troa. Troa Barton is from Maryland.
And then as he like slices a cancer in half, Shenlong Gundam is just sinking, and it's like its so arms are crossed brooding. And it is brooding.
He's so pissed.
And Troa's
no
like,
talk me Angie.
Troa's like, did you complete your mission? No response. And he's like, I understand. And it's like, do you? As Shenlong Gundam just sinks to the bottom of the ocean and the episode fades to black.
No talk me Angie.
It's really good.
Gundam's good.
Oh, what Gundam Wing's good. Y'all want to talk about a cool robot now?
I would love to talk about a cool robot.
Hit it.
Episode 9. Portrait of a Ruined Country. The Tallgeese arrives and is fully operational at the Nairobi base. As its debut, Zex wants to attack the Alliance base at the Sank Kingdom for reasons. Hero and Duo have moved schools and are planning an attack at a nearby military base. Duo makes it into a competition. The first one there and that destroys it wins. Zex pilots the Tallgeese into combat, and the Oz forces get overwhelmed at the Sank Kingdom, and Zex recognizes the Tallgeese's power and potential. We also get some small moments with the other Gundam boys. Otto goes sicko mode and steals the Tallgeese, and Zex confronts his past and failures.
This episode beat ass.
So this is episode 9.
So good.
9 is my favorite number. Also happens to be the Tallgeese power hour. I think
you mean episode 9.
Ah, very good. I do also want to point out that episode 8 opens with a new narration for us.
Yes. That's right, we didn't point that out.
The dialogue is, the attacks by the 5 Gundams sent by the space colonies reflected their retaliatory intentions. The Gundam's targets is Oz, who has masked its identity within mobile suit troops of the Alliance. The Gundams have a number of missions to attack Oz. The year is after Colony 195. Oz has finally taken center stage. With an army of elite soldiers at its command, Treize carries out his plan to destroy the Alliance military. The battle between mobile suits sent to Earth and Oz causes the Earth to shudder violently. Yeah. Which, okay, I like the new intro. Sad thing about the new intro, no mention of Operation Meteor. I'll get to it, don't worry.
Yeah, we didn't get anything of that this week, did we?
One. We got it in episode 7.
Oh, okay, good.
In the intro of episode 7.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
So
at least we get some.
This is, we open kind of like in media res, which is weird. Like, Zex apparently saved a town from being destroyed in the process, like, of the coup that's going on. And a transport arrives from Victoria Base, carrying the tall geese. Otto...
But before that, Zex does tell Noin, he's like... Our goal right now is to free all the countries that were forced into the Alliance.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, he says, like, Oz should be respected because of this.
Yeah, like basically making it clear Oz's intent is not to rule over these places that they're currently taking over, but to free the countries from the Alliance's clutches.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Noin, however, says, that's your intent now.
Yes.
That doesn't
exactly.
mean
Thank you so much for
always going to
highlighting
be
that. I forgot to write that down. That is incredibly important.
Zex specifically saying Oz should be respected for this really feels like he's trying to convince himself that like he is and will be in the future in the right for doing this.
Yeah, as the same guy who said that Oz taking over the Alliance, like, what's the point? You know, nothing's going to change.
His last name is Peacecraft.
It's fine.
Yeah, so Otto's, like you said, Otto's here. He's a little bit fucked up, though.
Otto broke his fucking ribs test piloting the tall geese. And we also see it fully assembled, which also...
It's such a pretty suit.
Critically means that, like, 2 months' time has passed between the introduction of the tall geese and now, which is a lot of time. There's a lot of stuff that's happened, like... off screen that we haven't really seen. Like, we don't know how much time Troa spent with Katra. We don't know how long Duo and Hiro have been, like, kind of buddy-buddy at their school or whatever. Which leaves a lot to be imagined, and also, unfortunately, a lot to be desired for the progression of these characters. Otto specifically mentions they actually don't know how fast the tall geese goes, because he took it so fast that Otto himself blacked out.
Yeah, they say specifically, I wrote this line down because it made me do the Leo point at the screen. They say, it's 3 times faster than the Ares with its verniers. And they didn't need to fucking paint it red.
The Mohawk is red.
As Max.
Yeah.
He's the lightning count, baby. He strikes quick as fuck.
You right.
He's Sharaznable, do you get it?
They do say that they couldn't even reach its max speed in testing because Otto passed the fuck out.
I think that this machine might be a bit dangerous.
And after hearing all of this, and after even seeing Otto state, Zex is like, we head for the Sank Kingdom. It's like, buddy, are you sure? Like, Noin even asks him, like, are you sure?
Like, no test flight, nothing. Just, he says, go prep the mobile suits for an attack. We're going right now. I'm getting on the tall geese.
And then we get Kuroku no Basketball Gundam style.
Yeah, duo fucking ballin'.
Duo fucking ballin'. Stupid Peacecraft. I'm fucking ballin'.
Ballin's life. This scene is so funny. We did not need this scene at all, but it is like
not.
It is pivotal because Duo is just whipping around the court. He bounce passes to Hiro, who you think isn't going to do anything about it. You think he he grabs the ball. You think he's not going to move, but then he gets charged by the other players and just jukes him out. He chucks the ball. He gives himself a layup and dunks it into the basket.
It's so sick.
Ball is life. Oh my god, this scene is so sick. Just guys being dudes.
But also specifically, Duo made the choice not to go for it himself and passed it to Hiro.
Curious.
I'm putting my thinking cap on.
And they're doing this. They didn't find a random court to play. They're in a different school now.
Yeah.
So we remember from the previous episode, Hiro was transferring schools.
Mm-hmm.
Duo, however, is not a member of this school. He's just kind of there blending
He's just
in.
there. Does he even go
No,
here?
I think he is actually enrolled for two reasons. One, he is wearing their official sports uniform, and there is a moment at the end of this episode where he is in the school uniform with his cute little button-up shirt, button-up short-sleeve shirt, and ascot with Hiro in the same outfit.
You know that Duo definitely like hacked the records to make him have Hiro's last name so he can just say that they're brothers.
Oh, don't get me started about name swapping.
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure it's fine. They do see an Alliance base on the lake.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like Alcatraz. So I was like, are they in San Francisco? But I don't think they are because they don't really do anything with it.
Right.
But regardless, Duo kind of proposes like, hey, let's see who can destroy it first later on.
Yeah. There's a lot of funny moments here. And Scott McNeil, Duo's voice actor, is just, he's having so much fun with it. He there's a point where he tells Hiro to chill out, rather. He's just like, you just need to chill out, bud. It's so good. His delivery on everything is so much fun.
Who do we have that shows up like right after this moment?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But Relina and her cool pink car.
She fucking shows up out of nowhere because she has that GPS tracker that she put in Hiro while he was sleeping.
Yeah, pretty much.
And she basically is like, I wanted to see you. What else do you expect me to do?
Very normal, very casual.
Yeah.
Really normal.
Speaking of rolling up unexpectedly, Oz rolls up on the Sank Kingdom.
Yeah. So this is cool. So the Sank Kingdom, at least the base that they're in, I think the base is built by the kingdom itself. It's in this really interesting sort of like cliff cove area. Mm-hmm. It's a very defensible position because you're surrounded by a cliff on one side, and the other side is like a sort of funnel from the ocean. So it's like there's one place people can attack from, which is pretty smart.
It's also just really picturesque and beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's very pretty.
Which makes sense because there was once a royal kingdom there.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. We get this Dio narration here as the battle is like sort of beginning. Mm-hmm. It's like the Alliance was taken over by Oz, and they're freeing. And this, kind of the same thing that Zex was telling Noin earlier, how they're freeing all the countries that were forced into the Alliance. But then he says something very interesting, and by interesting I mean, do you get it? Because he talks about how, well, Oz is in charge now, but they're still wielding the exact same military power.
Yeah.
They're just like they're the ones on the label now. Is it really that different?
This is very much where we start to get into the shades of gray of like Oz is taking over. But the only reason the Alliance could take over in the first place is because they had the mobile suits from Oz. And so the countries that were forced into the Alliance, which, hey, there were countries forced into the Alliance. They were only really able to be forced because of the mobile suits from Oz. And now Oz is just taking over. So these people don't see Oz as some liberator like Treize seems to think they're going to. They just see them as this distrustful militaristic power that's taking over the previous militaristic power. It sucks. It's also so good.
This is not an updating good situation. This is the changing of guard. Like this is the status quo continuing for these these countries that are already under the militaristic control and the fist of the Alliance anyway.
Really, just once again echoing Zex saying, if Oz takes over the Alliance, what changes?
Yeah. And we get a little shot of Noin talking to Zex inside the carriers. Like, all right, we're all going to protect you. You just got to charge the base and lead the charge. Whatever.
Yeah. She launches in her Commander Ares, the green one, which I love that Noin has custom colored mobile suits. And then the Tall Geese launches after it. It is down on one knee, doing the funny Tim Tebow pose.
I really like that we always see suits in these hangars being like stored on their backs, which makes the most sense. But like they specifically made the Tall Geese take a knee because it just looks so much fucking cooler.
Yeah,
that way.
And then it just rocks out the back and unfurls, and Zex is on the fucking battlefield.
He's like, oh, this suit's really heavy. It relies on his verniers to move fast, and then activates fucking turbo mode and like the screen like warps and there's like hat slides everywhere, and Zex is like, oh god, oh fuck.
Yeah, I do also want to note that Noin takes out a couple troops, and those troops are the gun tanks that we have seen in the opening. And I think there's even one that's like a mix between like that gun tank color and build and a Leo, where it's got these shoulder-mounted gun cannon sort of style.
Yeah, I've noticed that Leos have like shoulder beam cannons now.
Those are Leo commander types. They specifically
that's what
they specifically have different shoulder armor to denote their position on the battlefield, much like the Ares being painted green instead of the typical like navy blue and like lighter blue. But yeah, that's there is a moment of that. But I'm trying to take every moment to highlight these weird gun tanks because I have never seen these before in my entire life. And I need to know what they're classified as, because they must be Alliance mobile suits, because I don't think they're Oz mobile suits.
Yeah, because Oz is really almost exclusively using Ares at this point.
Right, but specifically more like the anthropomorphic mobile suits rather than like the ones with the treads and the giant gun barrels on his shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it also makes sense if you're going to be like assaulting, you're going to need more mobile things.
Right.
But regardless, Zex is like fighting guys in the tall geese, and like he is one hit kills everything.
He does do a sick shot with his Dober gun, and it just annihilates like an Ares in the air.
Mm-hmm. And he notices he notes he's like, I could avoid combat. I can just jet away to the base right now, but like, why am I not doing that?
Yeah. And then as Noin and her troops on the actual front lines push forward, the Sank Kingdom's commander from the Alliance calls for these ground-to-air lasers to be activated.
Yeah, they specifically say laser and not beam, which is strange to me.
Yeah, I was confused by that too.
I think it was just a terminology choice. But they call for these, and Noin sees these activated, and she's like, oh, we did not fucking know about these. And a bunch of Leos and Ares from Oz start getting fired back on and destroyed. And Noin and Zex both at like separate moments basically are like, oh, we need to retreat and recoup. Like they're like, we are overwhelmed and we did not expect this. And we got caught off guard and fucked up. And Noin starts to fly away after Zex kind of commands her to. And he was going to follow suit, but he turns around and just flies straight at the military base, and he, like, up-thrust the volume, like, full force throttle pedal to the fucking
11.
metal. He strains himself so bad, pushing the tall geese to its absolute limit. He does cough up blood, and he says, I'll die if I keep like, there's this, like, almost new type Flash sort of moment where he has this moment of realization. It is almost the
exact same noise, yes.
And he's like, oh, I'll die if I keep going like this. And one of the things he says is the pilot is the weak point of the suit. We also, during this moment, while he realizes all of this and decides to actually fly away instead of keep pushing forward, see his eyes for the first time.
Yeah, we see this little baby blue.
Look at his beautiful blue eyes.
Blue eyes, white Zex. So we cut to, my notes say, cut to my boy Treize on his jet.
Yeah.
Gives him wine, and she asks, what's next? And Treize, this weird line, he just says, we'll just keep winning.
Yeah.
It's interesting to him that he says winning, not like we'll just keep taking over bases. No, like he sees this as a game almost.
Yeah.
And that calls back to the first couple episodes where that's the reason the Alliance military were initially so distrustful of Oz and Treize, is because they just see it as this aristocratic game, and that's like just moving pieces around, and it kind of is to him.
Yeah. And I think Treize specifically says, or maybe it's something Lady Un suggests, that like Oz is doing so well that they could just conquer the Earth sphere, and Treize says that's the perfect motivation, despite everything Zex has been saying about like Oz not wanting to rule even earlier in this episode. And I think this is when we switch over to the Magwanac Corps doing what I was describing earlier, where they're Katra is back now after leaving, and they are chastising him. It is multiple members of the Magwanac Corps like basically we were so worried sick about you, but also kind of saying like it's their job to protect him. And one of them, it's this guy with these like adorable little dark sunglasses, says if something happened to you, how would we explain it to your father in the colonies? Pretty big deal. And then I think we learn, he's got the fun pointy hair, but we learn Rashid's name.
He's the leader of the Magma Corps.
And he dismisses the other members of the Corps, and they all leave. And Katra's like, thank you for, getting them to settle down. And Rashid is like, no, we're all mad as hell. Like, it is our job, it is our duty to protect you. And you, even if it's out of the betterment of yourself, even if it's just because you care about us, you sent us to the waysides so that you could do whatever you wanted to, which is pretty important concerning Katra's nature, and also that he has a father in the colonies that would be concerned about him.
So I what it seems is that his father sort of arranged for the Magma Corps to give Katra backup when he landed on Earth.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah. And then he also mentions he tells Rashid of the other Gundams.
Yeah.
He talks specifically of the pilots. They're violent and dangerous, but they're all nice guys. My soul of outer space tells me so.
It's a cute moment where Katra is just like, okay, but do you want to hear about what happened on my field trip? And then he does. And then
I'm done being in trouble. Let me tell you about the cool thing I did.
Yeah, I want to be excited, Rashid. Very, very spoiled rich kid of him. And then he does mention the soul of outer space, which I don't think that's important. It's not some cosmic thing that I think comes into play later. It's just kind of some shit he's saying. So he's just a kid being weird. So let him have this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we get a little moment of Troa and Wu Fei actually still together, and they're back at the circus that Troa works at, and Catherine brings them food. This is another moment where it's just I get to see Catherine and smile. Catherine is so sweet. Every time she's been around Troa, she's just been so endearing and nice, and it's just thank you, Catherine. Thank you for bringing these boys soup.
It doesn't even... it doesn't even... Yeah, also, it's very important. Soup time. Podcast joke. Do you get it? But also, did you see the fucking Adam Driver thing?
Yes.
Katie's been quoting that all the time.
Sorry, I'm on TikTok.
I don't get it. She's on TikTok all the time. I don't get it. I feel out of touch.
Max, it's fine.
Anyway,
you're old. I'm the youngest one here, and you both have to fight me.
That's true.
But Catherine also brings them the soup and also is like, yeah, you also have to do the dishes. You better learn your manners because you're pretty young.
Yeah, it honestly, it feels it doesn't feel like Catherine is hitting on Troa or something else. It feels like she genuinely is just I want to take care of this fucked up little boy.
It's very protective, but not in a motherly way, I wouldn't say. It's just it's like a carny. It's very familial, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And she says the line, I guess quiet people attract quiet friends.
Yes, I liked that.
Oh, it's so good.
I liked it. Referring to Wu Fei. Yeah. And Troa pours a cup of coffee from Wu Fei, and he's like, it's not the best Java, but here you go.
Oh my god, you need to hear how Troa says Java in English, because he says Java.
It's bad.
He says Java.
That's not right.
That's Who not does the word. Y'all didn't look up pronunciating? I don't even know how to fucking pronunciate.
And before we cut away, we get another moment of Wu Fei saying I have no right to pilot Nataku, which again, calling Shenlong Gundam by a different name. I'll talk about it in a bit.
Yeah, what's that mean? We cut to Zex's camp. He's in the medical tent because again, he got fucked up from the Tallgeese. You can tell he's in pretty good shape. He's kind of...
He had a heart attack
and everything.
And lived.
He lived, bitch.
The doctor says he had a heart attack, but aside from that, he's mostly fine.
Yeah, he's dead, but he's fine. He's all bandaged up, and he's he tells to Noin, who's attending to him. He tells her that the Tallgeese is super, super dangerous. It basically ignores the pilot. Mm-hmm. It can gather battle data and essentially allow you to achieve victory all by yourself.
Write that down.
But I'm a coward. I can't use it because it makes me doubt my abilities.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
That is something that is very crucial that he says about the Tallgeese kind of ignoring the pilot, and it takes into account everything that it has experienced so far to calculate its next move almost regardless of the pilot. And I think one of the things that Zex says is it takes a pilot who is willing to risk death for victory.
Yes.
And then we
And also, by the way, Otto is like outside the tent listening in on this. It's probably nothing.
We pull back from the tent and we see Otto outside, and Otto's just like, yeah, it takes a pilot who's willing to risk death for victory. And then he just kind of runs off, and it's fine. It's probably nothing.
Yeah. Zex also tells Noin that all the Gundams are derived from the tall geese.
Yeah.
Like, only a Gundam could inherit such a reckless design.
Ooh, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, so Otto gets a bright fucking idea and gets in the tall geese, and he salutes Zex. He flies off.
I don't know what it is. It's about me personally, but anytime I see anyone saluting anything, I think they're doing it as a joke. And so I saw Otto do this, and I watched these episodes at work, and I started laughing. I feel a little bad, but also
he's so semper funny,
It's
Zex.
kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, I like Otto. I like that he's like just like a characterized Oz member. But he's also like, you know, clearly cares for Zex.
Yeah, and he flies off
and,
with
like,
the tall geese.
That's more, I think, important.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
It's nice that we get a character like him who has a name and has some importance for now.
For now.
And he steals the tall geese and flies off, and Zex gets a call while he's on on his medical bed, and they're like, the tall geese has been taken. And they're like, what? Who's in it? And he is so worried about Otto when he hears. And Otto, on the other hand, is just saying the most like fatalistic, like, oh, I'm gonna fucking die in the next scene type shit.
Yeah. He's like, I'd be honored to die fulfilling your wishes, Zex.
And then there is, again, credit to Brian Drummond, the voice of Lieutenant Zex Marquis. There is this raw ass scream where he calls after Otto. It is genuinely upsetting. Like, most of his acting in this show has been very like low, kind of rumbly voice, but this is a moment of him like screaming after Otto, and you can tell he cares, and it's just great vocal performance.
There's some real emotion behind it in a way that you don't up to this point.
It makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's upsetting.
For sure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, as this happens, we cut back to Relina. She's like talking to a portrait of her father, talking about how she needs Hero's support. I don't really like. She's like mentions, you know, she like just wants to be near Hero a lot. I don't really think she's kind of detailed why, aside from like she knows who he is and like likes him, and I don't know. Like, it seems like Relina does have plans that I think the show hasn't really shown yet.
Yeah.
But as this happens, the island blows the fuck up. Duo and Hero are there, you know, destroying things. Hero sees the sort of main, like, fuel tower of the island, so he footstools Atrago. Yeah. He like, straight up, like, crumples the head so it's flush with the rest of the body.
It's so good.
And he fires on the fuel tower, and the entire island blows up.
And then he says, mission complete, and doesn't laugh.
Mission complete. No, Hero, where's that wonderful Joker laugh of yours?
That's on growth.
I don't want him to grow. I want him to laugh like the Joker.
He does say his catchphrase, which is mission complete, so he's still in there somewhere.
Yeah, we get something at least.
And then Otto goes to hell.
Yeah, so it's like morning now. Otto's been, I guess all that stuff with Zex probably happened like late at night, early morning, because it's like morning time clearly now. Otto's just like straight up picking off Ares with a Dover gun in his way. Zex is like pursuing in a chopper, and Otto makes it to the base, and all the lasers fire. Otto's just like tanking hits from the lasers too. I guess the tall geese has some sort of anti-beam coating. And he says, Zex Bonsai, and kamikazes the base with the tall geese. Oh, the tall geese itself is fine, but the entire base is blown the fuck up.
He does also say a really interesting thing.
In English, he screams, long live King Zex.
King Zex.
Oh, man.
It's so good. Which,
yeah, and then
obviously it calls back to who Zex actually is, but not his name. So it's interesting to make me think, like, what did Otto know, being someone so close?
Yeah.
To Zex's like main circle.
We get this long distance shot of the tall geese seemingly crashing into just the Sank Kingdom in general, and there's a huge explosion, and then we see the shot of the tall geese from behind, like crouched over. Its arm is just smashed into a building, and Otto is sitting in the pilot seat, seemingly unconscious. just not moving.
Oh, he dead.
He dead.
Oh, he's dead. Shout outs to Otto's ghost. He's going to be haunting the cockpit of the Tall Geese.
Yeah, rip to a real one.
After this moment, though, after this kind of reflection of like what Otto just did, Zex's helicopter shows up and lands, and Zex walks into the remains of this old building and confronts a portrait. He takes off his helmet. And
oh no, he's hot.
I just literally what my notes say.
He's very beautiful, and he looks up and down this portrait, and he says, "It took me 13 years to return to these grounds." And it's a portrait that he addresses as father, and says that he, as Miliardo Peacecraft, is unfit to lead the Peacecraft monarchy because of the blood on his hands.
Yeah, because, obviously, Peacecraft, his father, is the pacifist here, but he sees a picture frame on the ground. He picks it up, and there's two photos inside. One of a young Zex holding baby Relina, and then the other of, like, a younger toddler, early young child Relina.
Yeah.
And he's like, but she could lead the Peacecraft monarchy.
Yeah.
That picture of Relina is, like, genuinely uncomfortable to look at. She looks like a little demon baby.
It's weird, yeah.
The little
Why is her
triangle
hair so
mouth.
much darker?
Her hair is so dark, and her mouth is empty and just a weird triangle.
I think it's because the photo's supposed to be like old and faded, I guess, but that's the most I can say to even try to save it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we jump back to the boarding school. Relina jumps out of her car trying to find Hiro, and there's Hiro and Duo walking up to their school in their little uniforms, ready for the day to start. They walk off, and Relina kind of mumbles to herself that she just wants to be stronger, just like Hiro.
Yeah.
She wants to be new Hero. It's cute. Duo does say like good morning to Relina.
Yeah, he's nice.
He's just
and
a
then
good boy.
We get that little shot of Relina's childhood portrait again, and it fades to black. We get another to be continued.
Hey, the show's good.
Really
good ass batch of episodes.
Really solid. Starting off strong and just kind of continuing to be strong. Kind of Gundam Wing in its prime, I would say. It's still buck wild, and there's a lot of shit that they do that they just don't explain, but I have seen it so many times that I excuse it, so I like it.
I like it too.
And
we also have a literal cat fight happening out my window.
The craziest shit that's happened.
Tremendous.
We get the big reveal of who our Char clone's other, alter ego actually is, and it actually kind of has a moment of gravity and weight, and it's very nice.
Yeah.
And it's in episode fucking 9. There are 50 episodes
really
of the show.
on.
I keep forgetting how many there
like...
are, and then I'm like, oh wait, we're gonna be here for a minute.
This is a 49 episode anime series.
So before we get too far, I do want to do an Operation Meteor count. For this set of 3 episodes, we only got 1, and it was just in the intro of episode 7. I think I mentioned that earlier.
Very sad.
The new intro doesn't mention Operation Meteor at all, so unless we get another intro that brings it up again, or people reference it directly, we may be in a little Operation Meteor downswing, but it's always a good time to give your body some rest, and I'd say even with just the 10 sit-ups, 10 push-ups a day for a week until you hear our next episode, pretty good.
Yeah, ain't bad. If we don't hear any next week, we might have to create an auxiliary rule.
Yeah.
Of what we count if there aren't any mentions of Operation Meteor.
I do have
for every canned footage of Wing Gundam fucking beefing
Oh my god. Yeah, so I think it was during the night assault on the base that Duo and Hiro were attacking. There's a moment where Hiro fires his Buster rifle and 3 Aries get melted. That's recycled footage already. There's Duo slicing a Leo in half that we've definitely seen before, which is very fun. I believe I'm in charge of Beyond Toon World for today, but before we get to that, I want to talk about Shenlong Gundam, Wu Fei's Gundam.
Yeah, what's the deal?
I will leave it as simple as this. It's named after his wife. Anyways, Beyond Toon World.
Wait, what? What?
I can go into detail if you like. I will do my best to keep it spoiler free for later parts of the season. But
we can get into it when it comes up again. But
he just keeps calling it Nataku, and I don't think it's ever actually explained. So Shenlong Gundam was built on Colony L5, where Wu Fei Chang is from.
Oh, interesting. So all the colonies are named after the Lagrange points.
I believe
Cool.
so, yes. The thing is, Wu Fei is from the Long clan of people in Colony L5. It is a tradition that carried on from Earth. And because of these traditions, Wu Fei was part of an arranged marriage. I believe him and his wife were both 14 at the time. But that's how it works. That's how they decided to do it. I don't have much to say outside of that. Wu Fei, interestingly enough, was a scientist who was working on a mobile suit. That mobile suit was the Oz 00MS Tall Geese. And there was more than one Tall Geese in production. The one that Zex has was I believe, essentially the first one, but Colony L5 kind of got their own hands on a prototype, and that was developed into the Shenlong Gundam. Colony L5 was attacked at some point during Wu Fei and his wife's time together, and I had it written down. I don't think I can find it, but she has her own name, but she chose a name, Nataku, and that is emblematic of the strongest of the Long clan. Mm-hmm. Nataku herself defended L5 when it was under attack by the Alliance, and ended up dying in the process. And that's why Wu Fei took up her mantle with essentially her Gundam, and that's why he calls the Shenlong Gundam Nataku after his wife.
Interesting.
Really, really cool context that, again, I don't think we get in the show, which is that sucks. Because he just...
Well, I'm glad I know that...
If you don't know that, he just calls it Nataku all the time, and I don't know that you ever find out why without context from other stuff, which is just a huge failing on the development department team.
Yeah.
That's an interesting piece of information that...
It's super cool.
It's pretty important.
It's why Duo chose his last name after his adopted father. It's
I lost my wife, so I'm going to become a misogynist now.
True. That is something to Wu Fei's benefit and downside, is that he doesn't attack weak people, and the problem with it is that he just views women as weak, and it's buddy, your wife defended the colony. You should be a wife guy.
I mean, he's a wife guy in the wrong direction. He's kind of a Gendo Ikari type, if you think about it.
Holy shit.
I watched Ava 3.0 plus 1.0 the other day, so it's still fresh in my mind.
That movie was so good. Not to...
I genuinely got teary-eyed at the end.
I haven't seen them, but I kind of know what happens, and I like it. I like it.
Anyway, again, that's if I get really bored with Gundam, I'll take a break and do the Ava prequels or something.
Anyway, huge aside, Beyond Toon World. Let's get it.
You're going to love this. Trust me. Beyond Toon World!
Yay!
So, today on Beyond Toon World, I'm going to be talking about Kirby Morrow, the English voice of Troa Barton. He's done a bit, not quite as widespread as a lot of other voice actors. I thought about doing Brian Drummond. I might hold off on that until later. He's the voice of Zex, as I've mentioned.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But Kirby Morrow, along with most of the cast for the English dub of Gundam Wing, was part of Ocean Production. So keep that in mind. It's fun. Mm-hmm. To start off, he voiced Michelangelo, the turtle, in the 1997 TMNT Next Mutation TV show, which is
radical,
they were still dudes in turtle suits, so that's very fun. If you happen to be a fan of Lego Ninjago, he's Cole, one of the main 4 or 5 of the Ninjago troupe. He was Hotshot in Transformers Cybertron in 2005. Post his...
I'm sure Audrey's ears just perked up.
Post his tenure on Gundam Wing, he was a Transformer, fun fact. There was X-Men Evolutions, a pretty iconic Marvel TV series from the early 2000s, late 90s. He was Cyclops. He was Scott Summers.
Oh, Scott Summers.
Speaking of Lego stuff, as I've mentioned, he was a certain Star Wars Lego character that is a very heavily body-modified cybernetic android-human combination known as General Grievous.
Oh,
you mean my husband?
Yeah. He was, Kirby Morrow was also Miroku in basically all Inuyasha media, which is important to me because Inuyasha is the reason that I got into anime in the first place. He's still Miroku in the currently running Yashahime, so shouts out to that. Follow up on Inuyasha. There's a fun tie-in here because he was also Billy Katagiri in Gundam 00, where he starred alongside Ian Scott, who is the voice of Alleluia Haptism, a pilot in Gundam.
That's a fucking name.
It's a great name. He's a pilot in Gundam 00, but Ian Scott is also the voice of Inuyasha from Inuyasha.
Look at that.
Hey, in 2002, there was a funny Gundam movie that was introduced to the United States called Char's Counterattack.
Oh, I hate that
He
movie.
voiced Gune Gus.
Oh, fuck that guy. Wow,
Voiced
shit,
the worst
he voiced
guy
the worst character in the
whole
movie.
movie. And last but not least,
Cool.
what I believe and understand to be the initial run of a huge anime staple, Dragon Ball Z, in 1996, Kirby Morrow is credited as the voice of Goku in Dragon Ball Z.
What?
Oh?
My friend?
He's fucking Goku.
I would
My
not
carrot
have gotten
friend?
that.
He's your friend.
I mean, wow.
So Kirby Morrow doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have a huge backlog or anything like that, but he's got a lot of very fun
Some
roles.
heavy hitters. Hell yeah.
And those are just the ones that I wrote down. Obviously, if you want to know more, check out like Behind the Voice Actors or IMDb or something. But a lot of fun stuff on that list.
Right on. I am saluting Kirby Morrow. Very
I'm
nice.
proud to have presented you with my first ever Beyond Toon World segment.
Yeah, you did so well.
I have wanted to do this for like 4 years.
Look at that. You've done it.
And that's
And
episodes.
that's episode. Yeah. I believe it's time for plugs.
Yeah.
Jay, you want to kick us off first?
I'll kick us off. My name is Jared, or Jay. I go by Pagliacci Protege on Twitter and on Discord. Don't have another podcast to plug, so that's it for me.
I've been Julia. You can find me on Twitter at The Crown Jewels with 2 underscores at the end. This is Baby's first and only podcast, so just hit me up on Twitter.
Everyone clap.
I am clapping. I am Max. You can find me on Twitter at MaxyBajillion. You can listen to my other show, Pod of Greed, the world's #1 and only Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast sponsored by Kaiba Corp, on Twitter at Pod of Greed Cast. And you can listen to my other podcast, Slappers Only, a video game music showdown podcast at Slappers Only Pod on Twitter or slappersonlypod.com. Tune in for our Ghost of Tsushima episode the day before this episode comes out, so it should already be out.
You can also find us on Twitter at WowCoolPodcast.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Come hang out in the Discord, WowCool Discord, which is linked on the Twitter account.
Check out the
links in the episode description as well.
Check out the fun promo that I cut for the Gundam Wing season.
It's
really good. You did such a good job.
I've been sitting on the audio for that for a long time, and I'm just really happy to put it out there. I appreciate everyone for everyone who has responded to it. It was a lot of fun to do, just to imitate like the style of Toonami and pretend to be Tom for a little bit and like directly rip off Toonami's whole steez. So
it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do.
I don't remember who said it, but somebody in the Discord was like, I thought this was just
I think that was
a Toonami promo that you put over the podcast logo at first.
Yeah.
Which is like as good of an endorsement as you can get, really.
I love to hear it. Obviously, like, follow me on Twitter if you want to talk to me on Discord. But if you ever need a voice actor for anything, I'm available.
Hey. And go to noisepace.xyz to listen to this and my other shows and many, many more. Podcast network run by our friend Matt GameCube. Podcasting Forever 2021. Finally, I think one of y'all has to ask me the important question this week.
Hey, Max. What's your funny little robot of the week?
Oh, thank you for asking. My funny robot of the week is in Pokemon Black and White 2. You could do this thing called PokeStar Studios, which was like this weird little side thing in like one of the new towns they added.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, so you can fight things that like are technically Pokemon, in like they're stored in game data as Pokemon, but like they're not Pokemon because they're on the Pokédex. But I wanna talk about MT, which is just a giant mechanical Tyranitar, which is obviously what MT stands for. It's really, really sick. They did some incredible pixel art designs for all the PokeStar Studio things. There's like stuff that isn't even...
It's so good.
Like stuff that isn't even robots here. But like MT, it's interesting. It has a move set. It has stats. The stats of everything in PokeStar Studios are all 100. So it's not like it's an actual thing. But just, I mean, those are very good stats. It's just very, very cool that like, hey, they made like a whole sort of like, what if Godzilla was a robot? Which is, I guess, Mecha Godzilla. It's cool. It's Tyranitar. We love it. We love Tyranitar.
Designed to make me specifically as a Godzilla fan smile.
I literally, like, every single Tyranitar I ever use in any Pokemon game, I just name Gojira because I simply have to.
Yeah, obligatory.
Same with Volcarona. I name her Mothra.
There you go.
Hydreigon's Ghidorah, etc., etc. And that'll do it for us. Thank you all for tuning in. Yet again, Gundam Wing is a good show. I'm saying it. I might change my mind later if it gets bad. But for now, 9 episodes in, I'm going to give it a solid thumbs up.
It's a good show.
Good show. And to close, as we always say, war is bad.
Wow.
Cool robot.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Oz members, what's your sign? Oh, Peach.